Before I tell you what my daughter did the week before Christmas, I want you to understand who my wife is. She is the kind of woman who starts making her shortbread in November, not because she has to, because she wants to. She wraps each tin in wax paper and ties it with a little piece of twine, and she gives them to the neighbors, to the woman at the post office who always remembers our names, to the guy at the gas station who helped us jump our car one January morning 3 years ago. She remembers everyone. She forgets nothing. Not a birthday, not an anniversary, not the fact that our neighbor's grandson is allergic to pecans. My wife's name is Donna, and what you need to understand about Donna is that she would give you her last hour of sleep if she thought you needed the rest more than she did. We met at a curling club in Sudbury in 1989. She threw her first rock right into mine and knocked it clean out of the house. I thought that was the funniest thing I had ever seen. She was mortified. I asked her out for coffee before the ice had even been swept. We've been married 31 years. I'm telling you this because what happened in December, and I'm going to tell you all of it, didn't happen to a stranger. It happened to the woman who has shown up for this family every single time without fail, without complaint, without ever once asking for anything in return. And I want you to remember that. Because I want you to understand why, when it finally happened, I didn't hesitate for a single second. Drop your city and the time in the comments. I'm in Sudbury, Ontario. It's just past 9 in the evening, and I've got a cup of tea getting cold beside me. Our daughter's name is Fiona. She's 33. She married a man named Spencer about 4 years ago, and they live about 40 minutes north of us in a newer subdivision. One of those neighborhoods where every house looks like the next one, and the driveways are all the same width. Spencer is in sales, software I think, though I've never fully understood what it is he actually sells. He makes good money. They're comfortable. That's not nothing, and I've never begrudged them that. But comfortable, I've learned, can sometimes make people forget things. Simple things, like the fact that when someone does something for you, even cheerfully, even without being asked, it still costs them something. Spencer has a mother. Her name is Colleen, and she lives in Barrie. She's a perfectly pleasant woman who, as far as I can tell, has never once volunteered to host anything in her life. That's not a judgment. Some people aren't built for hosting. Donna would say there are worse crimes. But it does mean that our family, Donna's kitchen, Donna's dining room table that seats 12 if you pull it all the way out, has always been the default. Christmas at our place, Easter at our place, Victoria Day, Thanksgiving, the odd Sunday dinner that somehow stretched into an event with 17 people around the table. Donna never minded. She genuinely didn't. She loves feeding people. She loves the noise of a full house. But there is a difference between loving something and being ordered to do it. And that's the part I'm still not sure my daughter understands. It started on a Tuesday, the 11th of December. I know the date because Donna had just come back from her volunteer shift at the food bank. She does 2 Tuesdays a month, has for the past 6 years, and she was still in her coat when her phone buzzed on the counter. I was in the kitchen making soup. Nothing fancy. Just the split pea I make every winter, the one my mother taught me. I heard Donna read the message, and then I heard a sound I don't hear from her very often. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even surprise. It was something quieter than that. Like the air had gone slightly out of the room. She set her phone down on the counter beside her gloves. She didn't say anything for a moment. I turned down the burner. "What is it?" I asked. She picked the phone back up and handed it to me. It was a message from Fiona, and it was not a short one. I'm going to do my best to give you the gist of it without going on too long, because the whole thing was about 400 words, and reading it the first time took me 2 passes to fully understand what I was looking at. The short version: Fiona and Spencer were hosting Christmas dinner this year, their place. They wanted to do something really special. Those were the words. Because Spencer's mother and her boyfriend were coming up from Barrie, and Spencer's sister and her husband were flying in from Calgary, and they were also having Spencer's boss and his wife. Because apparently that's a thing that happens now. Inviting your boss to Christmas dinner. 22 people in total, and they wanted Donna to handle the food. I don't mean they wanted Donna to bring a dish. I mean they sent a list. 7 pages, attached as a PDF. Not 7 items. 7 pages. There was a full turkey, 18 pounds minimum, Donna's recipe, the one with the sage butter under the skin. There was a glazed ham. There was tourtière, which, if you're not from this part of Ontario, is a meat pie that takes the better part of a day to make properly. There was a wild rice stuffing, roasted root vegetables, Mashed potatoes. From scratch, not the box. Mom knows what we mean. It actually said that. Cranberry sauce, Brussels sprouts with bacon, dinner rolls, 3 kinds of pie, a trifle for Colleen because apparently Colleen loves trifle, and a nut-free option for everything, because Spencer's sister's youngest had been diagnosed with an allergy. And at the bottom, almost like an afterthought, there was a line about the shopping. It said, "If it's easier, we can send you the list ahead of time so you can pick things up over the next few weeks and spread out the trips." As if the problem, the only problem, the one and only obstacle Fiona could identify, was the logistical challenge of sourcing a glazed ham. I read the whole thing twice. Then I set the phone down next to hers. "Has she called?" I asked. "No," Donna said. "Just the message." I looked at my wife. She was still in her coat. She was looking out the kitchen window at the backyard, at the bird feeder we'd put up in October, and there was a chickadee out there doing what chickadees do in December, which is exist with a kind of cheerful stubbornness that I have always found quietly admirable. "What are you thinking?" I asked her. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'm thinking about tourtière." I laughed. I couldn't help it. She didn't laugh. She just kept looking at the bird feeder. "That's probably 40 hours of work," she said. "Maybe more, between the shopping and the prep and the cooking. And she wants all of it at their place by 2 o'clock on Christmas Day." "She sent a PDF," I said. "She sent a PDF," Donna agreed. We stood there in the kitchen for a while after that, with the soup on low heat and the chickadee outside, and the phone sitting on the counter between us, like something neither of us particularly wanted to touch. I want to be honest with you about this next part, because I don't think it makes me look great. My first instinct was not to refuse. My first instinct was to figure out how to make it work. I started doing the math in my head. If we spread the prep over 2 weeks, if I helped with the shopping, if we got the pies done first and frozen, if Donna didn't have to do everything herself, and then I caught myself. Because the real question wasn't whether it was logistically possible. The real question was, why was this even ours to figure out? Fiona is 33 years old. She and Spencer have a combined income that is, I'm reasonably certain, significantly more than what Donna and I make. They have a kitchen. They have 2 functioning adults in that kitchen. Spencer's mother was going to be there. Spencer's sister was going to be there. There were going to be 22 people at this dinner, and the assumption, the unspoken, perfectly confident assumption, was that one 61-year-old woman was going to cook all of it, because that's just what Donna does. And the thing about people who always show up is that eventually, the people around them stop noticing that showing up is a choice. I didn't say any of this out loud that night. Donna went to have a bath, and I sat with the soup and I thought about it for a long time. What I decided, sitting there, was that I wasn't going to manage this for Donna. I wasn't going to make the spreadsheet and divide up the tasks and find a way to absorb the impact so quietly that no one ever had to reckon with the fact that they'd asked something unreasonable. I'd done that too many times, made things easy when easy wasn't what the situation deserved. This time, I was going to let Donna decide, really decide. With no cushion from me, she called Fiona the next morning. I was upstairs, but I could hear the shape of the conversation. Not the words, just the rhythm of it. Donna's voice is easy to read even from a distance. She has a low voice for a woman, steady and measured, and when she's uncomfortable, it gets even more measured, like she's very carefully choosing each word before she lets it out. The call lasted about 22 minutes. When she came to find me afterward, she sat down on the edge of the bed and folded her hands in her lap. She said it's not that big a deal, Donna told me. She said I do this stuff all the time anyway. What did you say to that? I said I'd think about it. I sat down beside her. And what did she say? Donna looked at me with an expression I know well. It's not quite a smile. It's more like someone acknowledging the particular absurdity of a situation without quite being ready to laugh about it yet. She said, and I'm quoting, "Just try not to overthink it, Mom. It's just dinner." I let that sit for a moment. Just dinner. 40 hours of labor, a grocery bill I didn't even want to calculate, the week before Christmas, and it was just dinner. "Donna," I said. "I know," she said. "No, I mean, Donna, you do not have to do this." She looked at her hands. "She's our daughter. She is. And she asked you to cater a dinner party for 22 people and called it not a big deal." Those 2 things are both true at the same time. She didn't answer right away. And I want to tell you something about that silence because it matters. That silence was not her being indecisive. That silence was her doing something she doesn't do very often, which was actually sitting, with the fact that she was allowed to feel what she was feeling. That someone who loved her could look her in the eyes and say, "This is too much, and you know it's too much, and you are allowed to act on that." She looked up at me eventually. "I don't want to do it," she said. Just like that, quietly. "I really don't want to do it." "Then we're not doing it," I said. She blinked. "But, Christmas. I have an idea about Christmas," I said. "My oldest friend's name is Arthur. We've been close since grade 9, which means we've been friends for over 40 years, which is a thing I find slightly alarming every time I think about it. Arthur and his wife Linda retired to Prince Edward Island about 3 years ago. They bought an old farmhouse outside Charlottetown that Linda has been fixing up piece by piece, and every time we've talked since they moved, Arthur has said the same thing. "You two need to come out here. Donna would love it." I'd always said we'd figure something out. I hadn't figured something out. On a Thursday afternoon, 12 days before Christmas, I picked up my phone and called Arthur. He answered on the second ring. "Tell me the farmhouse has room," I said. He laughed. "For you and Donna? Always. What's going on?" I told him the short version. He was quiet through most of it. When I finished, he said, "Book your flights. Linda's already going to be over the moon." I booked them that same evening. WestJet, direct from Sudbury to Charlottetown via Toronto. We'd land on the 23rd. We'd come back on the 27th. 4 nights. Donna was in the living room watching something on TV when I came in and sat down next to her. "I need to show you something," I said. I handed her my phone. The confirmation email was open. She looked at it. Then she looked at me. "You booked flights," she said. "I did. To PI. To PI." She looked at the email again, longer this time. I watched her face do something I hadn't seen it do in a while. It's a very specific expression, not quite surprise, not quite relief. Something in between, like a door opening onto a room you'd forgotten was there. "Arthur and Linda," she said. "They're expecting us on the 23rd. She set the phone down on the couch between us. She looked at the TV, which was still going. Some nature documentary about something. Geese maybe, I'm not sure. Then she said, "What about Fiona? What about her?" She gave me a look. "I'll send her a message," I said. "Tonight. What will you say?" I thought about it. "I'll say we're not going to be able to help with Christmas dinner, that we're going to be out of town, and that we're sorry we didn't mention it sooner." Donna was quiet. "That's it," she said. "That's it," I said. "No explanation, no negotiation, no list of reasons. She sent us a PDF, we can send her a text." My wife looked at me for a long moment, then she nodded once. "Okay," she said. That was the whole conversation. I sent the message that night. I kept it short. 4 sentences. We weren't going to be available for Christmas dinner. We'd made other plans. We hoped they had a wonderful evening. We'd get together sometime in the new year. I read it over once. Then I sent it. Fiona called within 6 minutes. I let it ring. She called again. I let that one ring too. Then she sent a message, then another. I put my phone face down on the nightstand and I went to bed, and I slept better than I had in weeks. In the morning there were 11 messages. 3 from Fiona, 2 from Spencer, and 6 from my son-in-law's mother and Barry, who I have met in person exactly 4 times. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll tell you the general shape. There was disbelief. There was accusation. There was one message from Spencer that used the word selfish twice in the same sentence, which I thought was a fairly impressive bit of economy. There was a very long message from Fiona that covered, in order, how hard they had worked to plan this dinner, how much it meant to Spencer's family, how this was going to ruin everything, how she had been counting on us, how she didn't understand how we could do this, and, somewhere near the end, a sentence that I've thought about a fair amount since. She wrote, "You do this stuff all the time. It's literally what you love to do." We weren't asking that much. I read that one a few times. It's literally what you love to do. As if the fact that Donna loves cooking meant she had forfeited the right to decide when and whether she wanted to do it. As if love of a thing was the same as unlimited obligation to perform it for whoever happened to want it. I didn't respond to any of the messages that day. Donna read them all, and then put her phone in her coat pocket, and we went for a walk through the neighborhood, past the Christmas lights people had put up on their eaves, and we didn't talk about any of it. We talked about Arthur and Linda's farmhouse, about whether PEI would have snow in December, about whether we should bring Linda something from the farmer's market that was still running on Saturdays downtown. Donna bought a jar of local honey and a bag of dried cranberries. That was a good day. The 23rd came. We took an early morning drive to the airport, and by mid-afternoon we were on Prince Edward Island. pulling into the laneway of a red and white farmhouse, with a wreath on the door and smoke coming from the chimney, and Linda standing on the porch, waving like she'd been watching for us since Tuesday. I can't tell you a lot about the next 4 days without taking up more of your time than you've probably budgeted for this, so I'll tell you the shape of it. It was quiet. It was cold in the good way. Linda made a seafood chowder on Christmas Eve that I'm still thinking about. Arthur and I took a long walk on Christmas morning along a road that went through farmland, frozen fields on either side, sky the color of old pewter. And we didn't say much, but we didn't need to. Christmas dinner was the 4 of us around Linda's kitchen table. Turkey breast, not a whole bird, some roasted vegetables, a bottle of wine Arthur had been saving. Donna laughed so much that first evening that she was hoarse by 9 o'clock. I hadn't heard her laugh like that in a while. Not the polite laughing you do when you're hosting 20 people and making sure everyone has what they need. The other kind, the real kind, the kind that comes out when nobody needs anything from you. Her phone buzzed a few times over those 4 days. She looked at it occasionally and then put it down. On Christmas afternoon, somewhere around 3 o'clock, it rang. It was Fiona. Donna looked at me. I didn't say anything. That was her call to make. She answered it. She stepped out into the hallway, and I stayed at the table with Arthur and Linda, and we talked about something else, and I tried not to listen. I heard Donna's voice, that low, measured voice, and I could hear from the tone of it that she was not backing down, and I could hear from the rhythm of it that she was also not raising her voice. And after about 12 minutes, she came back and sat down and picked up her glass of wine. "How was that?" Arthur asked. Donna considered the question. "Fine," she said, and took a sip. "She's going to be upset for a while. That's okay." Nobody asked her anything else about it. We had trifle for dessert, because Linda had thought to make one, and it was very good, and the conversation drifted to things that had nothing to do with any of it. A book Arthur was reading, a renovation Linda was planning for the spring, something on the news that one of us had seen and couldn't quite remember all the details of. The fire was going. Outside it had started to snow, softly. The kind of snow that doesn't so much fall as drift. I looked across the table at my wife. She was talking with Linda about something, animated, her hands moving the way they do when she's interested in the conversation. And she looked, this is the only word I have for it. She looked like herself. The version of herself that exists when she is not managing something, not anticipating someone's needs, not quietly absorbing the cost of someone else's expectations. Just Donna. The woman I married. The one who knocked my rock clean out of the house and was mortified about it. I didn't say anything. There was nothing to say. We got home on the 27th. The house was cold and we turned the heat up, and Donna made tea, and we sat in the living room with our coats still half on while the radiators ticked. "I want to call Fiona," she said. "Not tonight, but soon. I want to talk to her properly." "That's a good idea," I said. "I'm not apologizing for going," she said. "I know, but I want her to understand not why I left. She knows why I left. I want her to understand why I didn't say no sooner, why I never said no sooner." She looked at her mug. "Because that part is on me. You don't get to be angry at someone for expecting things you train them to expect." I thought about that for a long moment. "That's a generous way of looking at it," I said. "It's an honest one," she said. We sat there for a while longer, the tea cooling, the house warming up around us. The call with Fiona happened 3 days later. I wasn't in the room for it. It lasted a long time, close to an hour. When Donna came out, she said it went as well as it could have, which I took to mean it was hard and honest, and that they both said things that needed to be said, and neither of them pretended it was fine when it wasn't. It's still a work in progress. These things usually are. But Donna has been different since December. Not harder, not colder, just clearer. Like something she'd been carrying for a long time, some particular weight had been set down, and she'd walked a few steps without it and realized she moved better. She still makes shortbread in November. She still wraps it in wax paper and ties it with twine. She still volunteers at the food bank on Tuesdays and remembers that the neighbor's grandson can't have pecans. The difference is that when someone hands her a list now, she reads it all the way to the bottom before she says a single word, and sometimes she hands it back.